Hey everyone, welcome to our channel, Rebecca Stew and the Crew. I'm Rebecca. Today we have some new Dollar Tree DIYs for you guys. We're going to make some new home decor. So let's go over our supplies for the first project. So for our first project today, we're going to be using this large wood round circle sign, also a razor blade, scissors, paintbrush, and pencil. We'll need something to cut our flowers with. I'm going to use the dog nail clippers. Works great for that. And a sponge. We'll need some gel stain from Dollar Tree, also some clear transfer tape, and some rubber gloves. We're also going to need a ruler or a straight edge and some twine. We'll also use some greenery and some different flowers of our choice. I'm going to use some white flowers and a little bit of greenery, and then we'll use some vinyl. I'm going to be using buffalo plaid and the Crafters Square extra large stickers. If you can't find them and you want to spell out some words, you could use their alphabet stickers or some rub-on transfers. We're also going to need some ribbon. So let's get crafty. The very first thing we're going to do is find the center of our large sign, and using our pencil, we're just going to draw a straight line across the center. Next, we're going to take our gel stain and either a piece of the sponge that's just a tiny bit wet, or even a paintbrush, and we're going to dip that into our gel stain and then work our way across the top portion of the sign. Really make sure you go with the wood grain and work that gel into the wood so you can see it nice and even, and you have a well covered piece at the top. And then you can take a dry cloth after a few minutes and buff over top of it to remove any excess that did not soak into the wood. When that's dry, we're going to trace around the bottom portion of the sign with our pencil on top of our buffalo plaid vinyl. I always cut mine a little bit large. You'll peel the backing off and then go ahead and put that on the bottom portion of the sign. I always cut mine a little bit big, so that's where the razor blade comes in. We're going to flip that over and then remove the excess vinyl from around the bottom portion and get a really nice straight edge along that bottom piece. Next, we're going to take a piece of ribbon. I'm going to use the solid black, and I cut it a little bit large. Once I figure out where I'm going to put it, I just put 3 little dots of glue to hold it in place and then put the ribbon on. Then I'll flip this over and use the razor blade again to remove the excess ribbon. Now we're going to add the wording. The first thing we're going to do is peel the backing off that is around the letters and the flowers. At first I was going to use the flowers. I ended up changing my mind and I took them off after the fact that it looked a little bit too much like fall, and I did not want it to look like fall. So once I kind of figured out where I was going to put it, I wasn't sure if I was just going to do the whole top or a little bit further down. Then I took that clear contact paper and we're going to put it over top of the stickers. Now you want to remove a little bit of the stickiness on that contact paper just to make sure you'll be able to get the stickers back off of it once you put them on. So I always just kind of like touch it with my hand a few times to get it not to be so sticky. As you can see, we're just peeling the back off. And then this will help us easily move the stickers in one piece onto our sign. And once we position it where we like, we're just going to push down, make sure it kind of sticks to the wood, and then we'll peel that clear transfer tape off. And as you can see, it comes right off, and it's really easy to place our stickers. That would work well for the alphabet stickers as well. You would just spell out the wording in any way that you like, and then do it in the same fashion there to attach them. So then once I removed those sunflower stickers, I used a few of the rub-on transfers to add a little bit more design around the blessed family because it looked a little bit empty with the sunflowers gone. I had a bunch of the rub-on transfers, so I just used some of those from the different sheets that they have out at the Dollar Tree. So I added a little bit of like ferns or flowers around both sides. I was going to add a little bit more, but I decided not to because once I thought about where I was going to put the bow, I didn't want it to be too busy. So now we'll just work on the bow. So all we're going to do is take about 8-inch pieces of ribbon and we're going to glue them into these loops, and we'll use 3 pieces. And then what we'll do is we'll gather them in the center. Just kind of squish them up a little bit, gathering them in the center. We'll do 2 side by side and then a third one on top. Then we'll take our twine and we're going to tie the bow right in the center. Now once we have our twine on the center of the bow holding it together, we'll cut off the excess twine, and then to hide the twine, because I really didn't want to see it, we're going to take a small piece of buffalo plaid ribbon and we're going to tie that around the center to hide the twine. And so there we have a very simple bow, and we're just going to attach this to the center of our sign with some hot glue. You want to make sure it's down far enough that you're not covering any of the lettering or words. And then we'll just dress up the sides with some Dollar Tree flowers and greenery. I had these little white flowers with this really pretty green color kind of mixed in, and they are from the Dollar Tree. And we're just attaching them with some hot glue. And you can put as much or as little flowers here as you like. And then once we have all of the flowers done, then all I really did was reattach a new piece of twine at the top and the holes that were already there so that we could hang the sign. And here's a close-up of the top and then the bottom and the whole sign all together. So very quick, easy, simple project you could complete on a weekend. Now for our second craft, the supplies, we're going to use that second sheet of stickers in the pack. We'll use this small wood round, also the gloves again for when we use the stain, and we'll use the gel stain again. Really any color will do. We'll need some hot glue and also these small wood slices and a razor blade. So let's get crafty. So the first thing we're going to do, this is super simple. We're just going to slide the razor blade underneath of the flower. I don't want it to crack, so I really do want to use this flower in another craft. So I'm lightly lifting it up off of the backing, and then we'll put this aside for a different craft at a later time. Now these little half beads here, they were already falling off. They weren't glued on all that great, which is why I decided to go ahead and pop them off and use this sign just as a different, like a smaller wood round. So then we're going to take our sponge or a paper towel again or paintbrush, and we're going to dip that into the gel stain, and then working with the grain, we're going to add the gel stain across the whole entire sign. And the back might look a little bit chewed up just because we removed those dots, but we're not going to see them, but it's up to you if you would like to sand it a little bit and then stain it. I just left mine the way it was. It really wasn't that bad once we removed all of the dots. Like most of them were popping off quite easily, but there were a few that were glued on quite well and they were a little bit difficult to get off. So now we're going to add the sticker to the center that says thankful. So for this one, I didn't use the transfer tape, but I should have, because it was actually a little bit difficult once I had the word thankful peeled off of the background. It was kind of hard to keep it straight and get it nice and level on this sign here, but I did manage to get it done. And then we're just going to peel those little leaves off. Now these, you don't really need the transfer tape to be able to pull them off of one piece and easily attach them to the tray that we're making. So it comes with 4 pieces of these little green leaf pieces. So we're just going to do 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom. And of course you want to allow your gel stain to dry before you attach any of these stickers. Now we'll just flip the sign over. You can see a few spots where the wood lifted up where we removed the dots, but most of it looks pretty good. And then we're just going to take these small wood rounds they've had out recently in the farmhouse section, and we're going to glue 4 feet on the backing of this sign or tray that we're making. And then once we have the first 4 pieces on, I flipped it over to see what it looked like. It still looked like it wasn't sitting very high. It just looked like it was off the table a tiny bit. So I decided to add 4 more of the small wood rounds to lift this up about another ½ inch. And I would say another ½ inch was perfect. It really depends on how high you like your trays. And you could even make this into like a tiered tray if you had more wood circles. It's really up to you, but I thought 2 high worked pretty well here. And then that is it. Super, super simple and easy supplies from Dollar Tree. Now for the supplies for our third craft. This is another simple, easy craft that you can do. We're going to use a stretched canvas, some hot glue, some white or off-white paint, a paintbrush, and then we're also going to need a razor blade and a screwdriver. Then I'll use 4 of these silver thumbtacks. So let's get crafty. So this is another super easy craft. I found this canvas at the Dollar Tree and I just fell in love with it about a week or so ago. And I said that I had bought it specifically to do a craft for this channel. It's a super easy craft. We're just going to use the screwdriver to lift up the staples in the back of the frame. And then we'll grab some wire cutters or scissors even and just pull the staples out. We're removing the whole entire piece of canvas. And then we'll smooth it out as best we can. And then we'll just end up setting this aside for now. We're going to flip the frame over where you can't see the holes from the staples. And we're going to paint this with the off-white chalk paint. And I did the inside edge, the outside edge, and then the top. I did not paint the back because you're not going to see it. Then I lay that on top of the canvas piece once it is dried. And once I have it centered and decide where I'm going to want to glue this down at, I just take a light color marker or a pencil and I trace around the frame to mark where I'm going to glue this frame at. And you really want to make sure that your picture's laying nice and flat. And then we'll put some hot glue all around the frame on the back. And then follow those guidelines that we drew on the canvas to push down our frame onto the canvas. And then once it's dry, go ahead and with your razor blade and remove all of the excess canvas. There's quite a bit of extra canvas around this, so you should have no problem getting the whole picture inside of this frame. It's okay if you have a little bit of the leaves that are out past the frame. They make these a little bit larger so that the picture wraps around the edges when they have it glued on the other way. And then just to dress this up a little bit more, we're going to take those silver thumbtacks and we're going to push those down into the 4 corners just to look like it's constructed a little bit more heavy or farmhouse-like with these faux nails in the corners to hold it all together. And I was able to push them in with my thumb, so you don't need a hammer. If you have a hammer, it wouldn't hurt, but they were quite easy to push in. And that is our other craft that we did. Super simple. So now for the supplies for our 4th craft today, we're going to use one of these glass ornaments and some rub-on transfers from the Dollar Tree, also some scissors, hot glue, and some ribbon of your choice. This is another super simple craft that we're going to do today, so let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is choose which rub-on transfers we're going to use. So for today, I'm going to use the home sign and the house ornament. First, I cleaned the surface with some rubbing alcohol just to make sure there were no fingerprints that would keep this rub-on transfer from sticking to the glass. Then I'll decide where to put the rub-on transfer. We're going to start with home first. So I'll put this on at the top and I'm just going to use a small plastic tool to rub the rub-on transfer onto the glass. So as you can see, it goes on quite easily. And then from this other sheet of rub-on transfers, I decided to pull these flowers off. I thought they were so cute and would look really nice at the bottom of the home. And then once we have those on, we'll add a little bit more to each side, just with a different piece from the rub-on transfer sheets. I really wanted it filled in along the whole bottom, and then I did 2 more pieces on either side of the word home. Then we'll add a buffalo plaid bow and hanger. So I just made a large loop and I put it through the hole at the top. and tie it off. And I made a very simple bow, and then we'll dovetail the ends. And then glue this onto the top of our little glass house. And that's it for this one. Super simple. And now for the supplies for our 5th project today. This is really easy as well. We're going to use some Dollar Tree carrots, some twine. We'll need some hot glue and scissors. And then we'll use these little label tags that Dollar Tree sells. And we'll need a Sharpie or a black pen. So let's get crafty. So all we're going to do is make something to put on that thankful tray that we made earlier. So we're going to stack 3 of the large carrots that they have out. They're about 5 inches long. And we're just going to attach 2 of them together using some hot glue. And we'll hold them together until they stay and the glue has dried. And once we have the first 2 glued on side by side, we'll glue the 3rd one on in the center on top. And so we've got our little bunch of carrots, and all we need to do is tie them together for our wooden tray that we just created a few minutes ago. So now what we're going to do is just cut some twine, and then we'll put a little dot of hot glue right across the center, finding the middle portion of our twine. We'll glue that on, and then we'll wrap the twine a few times in each direction around the carrot stack. Then we're just going to tie this into a knot. And now we'll work on our tag. So for the tag, I removed the hanger that it came with, or that little piece of string that was in the hole. And we're just going to write the word carrots, and then we'll write 10 cents a pound. And I do a small dotted line around the outside border of the tag just to make it look a little bit more special. And now using the ends of the twine that we tied onto the carrots to hold them together, we'll tie the tag on using the hole that's already punched through the top. And then we'll just tie a little knot here. If you need to glue the tag down, you can do that. Just add a very small dot of glue to the back and then push down onto the carrot to keep it in place. And this will look great on our little tray that we just made. Now for the supplies for our 6th project, we're going to use a small flower pot. We'll need 2 small wood Easter eggs and then some pink paint. We're also going to use some white paint and then some paintbrushes. We're also going to need some scissors and hot glue, a small chalkboard sign, also a little bit or a small portion of a pool noodle, the little mini carrots, and then we'll use one of these small bunnies. They come 6 to a pack. So let's get crafty. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to repurpose this small flower pot that I used a couple years ago in a DIY. And I really like the light pink. I scraped off the purple dots with a razor, and then I'm just painting a nice new coat of the light pink paint across the top of our flower pot. Then I ended up painting the inside as well, just because I knew I'd be able to see the inside a little bit at the top, and I wanted the whole thing to be uniform in color. While that's drying, we're going to take these small little wood Easter egg cutouts and we're going to paint them white. We'll do both sides and the edge because you will see it from all different directions in this project. So you want to make sure that you have the whole thing painted. So you'll have to paint both sides and then the border. Once it's all dry, we can put it together. So we're just going to take a small dot of hot glue and we're going to add the Easter egg with the small side up. And these are going to become bunny ears. So you'll want to hold the eggs in place until they stay in the position that you want them to be in. So there's our bunny ears. And now we're going to use some hot glue and a small piece of pool noodle. I'm just going to take about 1 inch and we'll fill that in the bottom. Now we're going to take the small carrots and we're going to glue those around the inside of the flower pot. And I put glue on them to hold them in place where I want them to be within the flower pot. And I glue them at different levels so they're not all the same height. Now taking some hot glue for the front, we're going to take this little bunny body and we're going to glue it so that we can take the top portion and fold it up on that top edge to make it look like he's completely bent over the edge and kind of falling into the flower pot. And I'm sure you guys have seen similar crafts to this all over Pinterest. There's so many, it was hard to give credit to any just like one person. So I've seen these, millions of times on YouTube and Pinterest. So I thought it would be fun to try one myself using some different items like the Easter eggs for the ears and these new little bunny puffs that they put out. They usually have the big ones on the stick, but they don't usually have these new little ones that they have out. So that's it for that so far. And then the small chalkboard sign, we're just going to use one of the Crafters Square white markers. And we're going to write the word carrots on the chalkboard and 4 little dots in the corners. And then we'll set this right in the center of all the carrots in the flower pot. And you can add some hot glue to it if you like. That was super simple and really cute, and that would look cute on our wood tray as well. And now for the supplies for our last project today, we're going to use one of these DIY wood crosses and then a small wood sign from Dollar Tree. Also some greenery and flowers. Any flowers will do as long as you have enough to fill in that small sign. And then we'll need some pearls, some pearl wrap, and some more of the pool noodle. We're also going to use some scissors and hot glue, and then some antiquing wax or gel stain, either one. Also, we'll need some gloves while we're painting, and then some paintbrushes. And then I'm going to use some watercolor colored pencils that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. So let's get crafty. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to stain the wood cross. It's a little bit difficult to get around those flowers. So I have a very small paintbrush that I really didn't care much about. It came with like a paint with water book that we picked up. And so they come like, I think like 8 or 10 in a pack for $1.25. I really didn't care what happened to it. So I'm able to force this paintbrush with a little bit of gel stain down into the corners and creases around the flowers. Then once I have all of the edges in around the flowers, they're filled in, then I put just larger amounts of wood stain on the cross and we'll rub that in with a dry buffing cloth. And we'll make sure the whole cross in the front gets covered in the gel stain. Once that's dry, we're going to paint the leaves white with paint. And then I went in with the watercolor pencils, and you just color the different flowers, the different colors that you want with the watercolor pencils. Then add a little bit of water to your brush and then drag the paint. Once you have all the flowers filled in, I took some watered down white paint and I just lightly brush over top of the flowers to give them all this muted, soft pastel color. And you really want to make sure that the watercolor pencils has completely dried before you do the watered down white paint. Now we're filling in a little bit of green with the pencil onto the leaves, and then we'll take the water and brush that out to smear the color, and then add a little bit of white for highlights on the different leaves. Once that's dry, we're going to take some hot glue and put pearls in the center of each flower. And so our cross is done. Now we'll take this old sign from fall and we're going to remove the paper using a razor blade. Once you have most of the paper from the outside removed, just go ahead and wet it down with a damp paper towel for a few minutes and it will brush all of the paper right off and you'll get down to the bare MDF board. Then we're going to just rub some antiquing wax on the sides, the top, and the edges there to give it a nice brown color. Then we're taking that adhesive pearl wrap and cutting it into 2 rows of pearls, and we're going to use that as a border to hide where the bottom is glued together. And it does have that sticky tape attached to it, but you'll want to put a little bit of hot glue on just to help keep it sticking over time. It's not always the best adhesive. So I always add a little bit of extra hot glue. And we'll just put this border all the way around the bottom. Then we'll take our cross and we're going to glue it right to the center of that box and towards the back. Now we're going to cut our pool noodle down to size. We're going to just cut it in half. So we have half of like an arc. It looks kind of like a rainbow from the side. Once I make sure it fits, I pull it out, add some hot glue, and push the pool noodle down inside. I trim it up a little bit with the razor blade where that notch is in the sign that we used for the bottom. Then we'll cut all of our flowers off of the stems, leaving a little bit of the wire behind so that we can stick the flowers down into the pool noodle and arrange the flowers. Now, I didn't add any additional hot glue as I was adding this to the pool noodle, but you can add a little bit of hot glue to the stem and then push it down into the pool noodle, and that'll help make sure it stays in. But it felt like it was going to stay in okay, and I haven't seen them move in the last 2 days since I've put this together. So I think, it's really up to you if you want to add the additional hot glue or not. And you just want to keep working and filling in the flowers until you don't see the pool noodle anymore and you have it filled into your own wishes and desires of how you want it to look. And that is it for this project. It's really easy, but it's a really pretty project when you're done. You're really just coloring with some colored pencils and staining the background and then filling in the bottom portion with some flowers. It's really super simple. It makes a really pretty project. And of course, my cat was helping me as always. So here are all the projects that we made today for spring, some new home decor for around the house. Some of them super simple, one of them a little bit more difficult, but all really easy that even the beginner crafter can make. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And here are some other videos from our channel that you might also enjoy. Have a great day, everyone.